The alley was always noisy. Baekdan had grown used to it, the rhythm of the red light district, where men came to buy illusions and women sold fragments of themselves to survive. For her, the alley was not a place of indulgence but of suffocation. She stood behind her small stall, the steam of boiling broth fogging the cold air. The smell of soy and noodles clung to her hair and clothes, masking the stench of smoke from the brothels nearby. A bowl of udon cost 3,500 won, and she had to sell dozens each night just to cover the interest on the debt her mother had left behind. A debt that had followed her since childhood, coiling around her like a chain she could never break free from. Someday, she whispered to herself, someday, I'll leave this place. Fate, however, had a way of testing her spirit. One evening, as she was making her rounds, she noticed a man across the street, tall, sharp-eyed, and surrounded by an air of quiet authority. He flicked his cigarette carelessly, the burning stub flying through the air before landing dangerously close to her feet. Annoyed, Baekdan looked up and met his gaze. "Be careful," she said firmly. "If you want to throw it away, at least use the dustbin." It wasn't the kind of tone she normally used with men. Without a word, she turned and walked off. This one, he just stared at her, a flicker of surprise, maybe even amusement, crossing his expression. The same evening, Musin came to the udon store, and both he and Baekdan were caught off guard by the unexpected encounter. With a mocking tone, he asked her if she would be fine having a physical relationship with him. Baekdan was flustered and upset by the remark. Just then, his subordinates entered the store, filling the space and breaking the tension. Musin quietly took his seat and began eating. To Baekdan's surprise, he genuinely enjoyed the udon, finishing his bowl quickly and ordering another. His subordinates left the shop, but Musin lingered behind. Looking at her directly, he asked calmly, "Do you prefer cash or card?" He paid, then stood up to leave. Pausing at the door, he gave her a faint glance and said, "I'll see you next time," before walking away, leaving Baekdan unsettled and confused by his behavior. The next day, Baekdan went to pay off the debt that had weighed on her for years. She stood at the collector's door, knocking and pulling at the handle, but it was locked tight. She sat down nearby and waited for hours. When the collector finally arrived, stood up and demanded, "I'm here with all the money. Why won't you take it? If you pay it, it's over. But if I don't take it, the interest keeps piling up. That means more money for me." Baekdan's chest tightened with rage and helplessness. She had worked tirelessly for this moment, dreaming of freedom, yet the system was rigged against her. Her hands trembled as she realized that no matter how hard she tried, the world around her was determined to keep her trapped. That day everything collapsed on Baekdan, the debt collector's refusal, the weight of her struggles, and the guy who supposedly liked her, his cutting words. Broken and exhausted, she sank to the ground in tears. Just then, a handkerchief appeared in front of her. Looking up, she saw Musin again, his eyes softer this time as he said quietly, "I came because I missed you." The handkerchief in front of Baekdan brought her an unexpected sense of relief, a quiet gesture that eased her despair. Clutching it gently, she whispered to Musin that she would return it after washing. But before she could gather herself, Musin suddenly pulled her close, his gaze steady and unflinching. "I can make you feel good," he murmured with bold certainty. "I'm plenty confident." Baekdan recalled Yongera's words and thought to herself that, if life is destined to rot in this alley, why not let it flow as it is? Her expression shifted, and Musin caught it instantly, sliding his hand beneath her shirt. But before the moment could deepen, a man burst into the shop. Baekdan shoved Musin away with a smack. Musin murmured with a low, dangerous smile, "Lady, I was trying to be a gentleman, but I can't do that anymore." Her eyes widened in shock, the only word escaping her lips was, "What?" he teased, unbuttoning his shirt with ease. When he added playfully, "I told you I was big." What followed was a charged, consuming encounter, one that swept Baekdan into a storm of emotions she hadn't been prepared for. By the time exhaustion claimed her, she realized she had given in completely, falling asleep beside him. By morning, she stirred to find Musin lighting a cigarette. "Don't smoke," she whispered. He put it out without protest. His gaze fell on her worn workbooks. "Are these yours?" She admitted they were discarded ones she'd picked up, only to flinch under what felt like pity. "Don't feel sorry for me." Musin's calm reply lingered in the air. "Who said I'm feeling sorry for you? I'll just buy you new ones." That evening, as Baekdan closed the store, Yonga stormed in, shouting, "Did you sleep with that jerk?" Startled, she asked why he was accusing her, but his tone grew sharper. Are you dating him? She admitted softly, we just slept together. His expression darkened, and in a sudden burst of emotion, he pinned her, demanding, why him? Why not me? Musen appeared, his gaze cold and dangerous as he saw Yonga holding Baekdan. Realizing the situation, Musen yanked Yonga off her and delivered a brutal punch, beating him until Baekdan screamed for him to stop, fearing he'd kill Yonga. The man before her felt frighteningly different. When she slapped him, Musen only smirked and said, I get excited when I see blood, before pulling her close and kissing her fiercely. Overcome by the intensity, Baekdan gave in, tearing his shirt as passion overtook them. I think I'm getting addicted to you, Musen whispered. Musen slyly whispered, are you excited? She couldn't answer, lost in the fierce, overwhelming pleasure that stole her breath. Instead, their lips met in a deep, consuming kiss. The rattling sound woke her, and she saw Musen step into the room. What are you doing? She asked sleepily. He gave a small smile. I organized the store for you. Her eyes drifted to his clothes, and noticing something familiar, she asked about them. Musen smirked. Someone ripped my clothes yesterday, so I had to wear something else. She realized they were her father's clothes and laughed. It doesn't suit you at all, she teased. I'll take a picture and show your colleagues. Go ahead, Musen said with a grin. That photo's good enough for a museum. Taking her phone, he tapped a few times and handed it back. I saved my number. If you sell it, split the profits with me, he joked before leaving. The exchange had her laughing out loud, but the laughter faded as a serious thought struck her. We're just sleeping together. So why am I laughing like this? She sternly told herself to get a grip. It was just a platonic relationship. She opened his number from contacts and deleted it, saying, I shouldn't expect anything. The baseball team had a big game coming up, and they all crowded into Baekdan's store to fuel up, filling the place with lively chatter and energy. In the middle of the hustle, Musen strolled in. Is it business hours already? He asked. The store was packed, yet he deliberately requested Baekdan to serve him in her private room, leaving everyone, including Baekdan, shocked. Inside, Musen slurped his food nonchalantly while Baekdan glared at him. If you're done, leave. I'm busy, she snapped. Playfully, Musen tugged her closer and whispered, up for another round. Baekdan's face flushed. There are people outside. Are you out of your mind? She hissed, adding that she wasn't in the mood for anything. Musen just smirked, pulling her into a deep kiss before murmuring, very well, next time, then. Musen was humming on his way to work when his manager spotted him. You look like you're in a good mood. Musen smirked. A thug stays a thug at heart. You can have all the fancy dishes in the world, but one decent bowl of udon is enough to mess with my head. With that, Musen said he'd take the trash out before heading home for the day. He wasn't just talking about trash, though, he was reflecting on the business deal he just closed. Mr. Park, the basketball coach and Baekdan's well-known uncle. Looking at her closely, he couldn't help but see traces of her mother in her face, and a memory surfaced, the day her mother had once claimed Baekdan wasn't her child. But he brushed it aside and asked casually, are you seeing Musen? Baekdan replied quickly, nothing like that. Mr. Park frowned and muttered about how Musen was nothing but trouble, there to clear the alley for reconstruction. Just before leaving, he added bluntly, just make sure you don't get pregnant, leaving Baekdan red with embarrassment. After he left, she sat lost in thought. It's just a fling. He doesn't care. Yet all her heart could picture was Musen, the way their bodies fit together perfectly. Miss, a voice called, pulling her from her thoughts. His smirk suggesting they pick up where they left off. No, Baekdan said sharply, standing her ground. You came here to sweep us out along with the trash. Director Jang Musen. Musen blinked, caught off guard. What are you talking about? Isn't it obvious? Baekdan replied. Pursing her lips, she said let's stop seeing each other. Making Musen shocked and speechless. Her words hit like a punch. Musen's voice was low, sharp. I'm not into games. Just say it straight. I meant every word, Baekdan replied firmly. Leave. He stood frozen, before finally walking away. But behind the closed door, she collapsed, whispering through tears, it's fine. The days grew tense as unfamiliar men lingered around Baekdan's store, their presence setting her on edge. She followed them and overheard. Another bust. Can't find Jang Musen. Thought he'd be here for that girl. Fear gripped her, but with his number erased, she hugged herself and whispered, good, it's better this way. Meanwhile, Musen hadn't been home in days, brooding at his office desk. How long will you stay like this? Another woman keeping you busy, his manager teased. Another woman? No, Musin muttered. The manager's tone darkened. Be careful. You left Biko's boss half dead. His men are combing the alley. His face darkened. Sharon was trying to talk with Baekdan. Finding the right moment, she asked, weren't you dating that other guy? And she replied curtly, no. That guy's never coming back. Sharon hesitated before speaking. It's just, he's been wandering around the alley lately. Didn't sleep with anyone, just drank and left. The thought lingered in Baekdan's mind, stirring a mix of irritation and worry. Unable to shake the feeling, she closed her store and set out to find him, determined to warn him about the men who had been searching for him. She wandered deep into the alley, muttering to herself, I'll just ask around. As she stepped toward a brothel entrance, someone was behind her. Lifting her head, she met Musin's piercing gaze. Did you decide to change your profession? He asked coolly. I have something to tell you, Musin. He cut her off with a smirk. Look at you. Who would even buy your services dressed like this? Her eyes hardened. You would, she shot back. You were into me the first time we met, and I looked like this, if not worse. Fine, he said, I'll take you. Cash or card? Baekdan said, let's take this to your place. To her surprise, it wasn't a motel but a modest studio apartment. The tension snapped as Musin tore her shirt, making her gasp, what are you doing? I've been worrying like an idiot about you. Were you worried about me? There were strange men looking for you, she admitted. Musin paused. Were you really about to sell yourself? Baekdan shot back. Why else were you hanging around the alley? Amusement flickered in his eyes. Oh? Were you jealous? Baekdan pushed Musin away, thinking it was over between them, but Musin had other plans. He lifted her effortlessly and tossed her onto the bed, making her squeeze her eyes shut. Instead of advancing, he rested his head in the crook of her neck and murmured softly, let's just stay like this for a second. Breaking the silence, he teased, why's your heart beating so loud? Do you like me or something? Flustered, Baekdan replied, you just took me by surprise. Musin smirked at her bravado. He pressed a gentle kiss on her lips, deepening it as the tension melted between them. In the darkness of the night, danger loomed as the Baekdo gang boss plotted his revenge, watching Musin and Baekdan from the shadows. Meanwhile, Baekdan was lost in the warmth of Musin's soft kisses, her heart melting under his touch. With a rare vulnerability, Musin admitted he'd felt like hell being away from her. She murmured softly, I felt the same. Morning came with an unexpected surprise for Baekdan. Musin had made breakfast, and to her astonishment, it was delicious. Curious, she asked how he knew how to cook, and he casually replied that he'd lived alone during college. His words lingered with her. College was something she had always dreamed of but never reached. Sensing her thoughts, Musin told her she should go too. The simple encouragement stirred something deep within her, his belief in her cutting through years of hardship. When he kissed her forehead, it felt like the first time someone truly saw her, and suddenly, the world around her seemed brighter. While opening the store, Baekdan was startled by Sharon rushing in, breathless and panicked, asking her to follow. Sharon pulled her deep into the alley, but before Baekdan could question what was happening, a rough hand came from behind, pressing a cloth over her mouth, and her vision blurred as through the haze, she faintly heard Sharon's frantic voice, a man's anger, and the sound of a slap before everything went dark. When she regained consciousness, she was tied to a chair in a dim, abandoned warehouse. Awake? A man's cold voice echoed as he stepped closer, gripping her chin. So, you're Musin's girl? Gotta admit, you're pretty, he sneered, his words sending a chill down her spine. Pulling out a camera, he aimed it at her, but when she protested, his hand struck her cheek, leaving it bruised. Ignoring her pain, he ripped her shirt, snapped a picture, and sent it to Musin. Musin sat in a meeting about the alley's reconstruction, facing the mall project head, a man clearly taking bribes. Baekdan's uncle, their handshake heavy with tension. As talks dragged on, the mall man flaunted himself with a woman at his side, irritating both Musin and Park. A sudden vibration pulled Musin from his thoughts. He checked his phone, and froze. The photo made his blood boil. Baekdan, bruised, bound, and terrified. A message read, "Come alone in 30 minutes." Musin sped through the streets, fury boiling in his veins, until his manager's car blocked his path. He stormed out and grabbed him by the collar. "What the hell are you doing?" he barked. Calmly, the manager replied, "You had your fun. Move on. It's not like you planned a future with her." Meanwhile, Baekdan was being beaten, her captor sneering, "It's been an hour, and Musin's still not here. Guess you mean nothing to him." The Baekdo gang boss stepped closer. "You're Park Pilsung's daughter, right? Didn't know? Everyone knows he slept with your mother." Baekdan's voice was cold. "I'm my mother's daughter. No one else's." The boss laughed darkly. "What a sad life. Dumped by your father, dumped by your man." The man yanked Baekdan's hair, raising his fist for another blow, but before it landed, he was hurled across the room with brutal force. Baekdan's wide eyes followed the motion, and there he was, Jang Musin. With his back to her, his voice was low but sharp. "Are you okay?" Musin had only come to see Baekdan for a moment, but the boss and his goons stormed in, seizing the perfect chance to rough him up. The boss barked orders, and his men charged, weapons raised. Baekdan screamed, "No." Suddenly, the lights cut out. The warehouse filled with screams, thuds, and the echo of pain. When the lights flickered back on, Musin stood tall, surrounded by groaning bodies. He rushed to her, untying the ropes and draping his coat over her. Pulling her close, he whispered, "Sorry I was late." Her tears flowed freely. Musin pulled her from his embrace, his voice steady. "This is your last chance to walk away." Baekdan stared, confused. "Why are you saying this now?" He met her eyes. "Because if you stay, I'll never let you go. I'll spend my life with you." Reaching into his pocket, he added, "Decide now." Kneeling, he revealed a ring. "Will you confirm your purchase?" Tears filled her eyes as she covered her mouth, whispering, "Yes." Musin smiled and slid the ring onto her finger. Musin brought Baekdan to Sharon, who broke down in tears, apologizing for everything she'd done. She explained she had been forced into her actions. Baekdan chose forgiveness. Musin met his manager, where he was informed everything was settled. Musin asked his manager to take Baekdan wherever she wanted to go. She said she wished to visit her store. The manager glanced at them bickering playfully and thought of how far Musin had gone for her. He smiled and asked Baekdan warmly, "Let me drive you." At the store, Mr. Park appeared, visibly worried. His concern reminded Baekdan of the boss's cruel words, that this man might be her father. She quickly pushed the thought aside, simply assuring him she was fine and thanking him for all he had done for her over the years. Outside, the manager waited, handing her a sleek new phone Musin had bought. The bell rang, and a call from Musin lit up her phone. His deep voice came through, "There's somewhere I want you to come." She arrived at a men's bathhouse. Without warning, he reached for her hand, pulling her into the water. With a sly smirk, he murmured, "You'll be naked soon anyway." Days later, Baekdan returned to the alley, now being demolished. She hugged her unis tightly. "Let's meet outside someday," she said softly. Walking away, she whispered, "Goodbye, Mom," bidding farewell to her past, and the alley she once called home. Back at their home, Musin entered the room and called Baekdan to come eat. He had brought her favorite cake. Sitting across from her, he watched with quiet amusement as she enjoyed every bite. When she offered him a taste, he leaned in with other intentions, pulling her into a kiss and murmuring, "Delicious." With a mischievous grin, he smeared cream on her lips and began licking it away, the playful teasing quickly escalating into something more intimate. Just as things grew heated, a presence startled them both. A man stood at the door. They scrambled to compose themselves, and Baekdan shyly sat beside an annoyed Musin. It was his father. Calmly, he asked why Musin hadn't told him he had a girlfriend, then turned to Baekdan with a serious gaze. "Do you really want to be with him? If so, I'd like the two of you to get married." Baekdan froze, stunned. She had never imagined Musin would ask her to marry him. Sensing her shock, Musin reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. "I wanted to do this somewhere better," he said, voice steady but soft. "I love you, Baekdan. Will you marry me?" Her breath hitched, overwhelmed by emotion. Musin glanced at her. "Forget his here," he whispered, lifting his cane. "This boy needs a good whack on the head." Baekdan shouted, "I'll marry you." She threw herself forward, covering his head protectively. "Whatever anyone says doesn't matter. He's mine now." Musin's father blinked, taken aback, then let out a small laugh, amused by her fierceness. They both kissed and confessed their love. Months later, Baekdan's long-held dream came true. She was finally attending college and had even made new friends. As she stepped out of campus one evening, she spotted Musin waiting for her, leaning casually against his car. Her heart swelled, and she thought, I'm really, truly happy.